It's October 2nd, Thursday, and the government is shut down in the United States of America because, of course, it is. Last time it happened was 2019. The same dude was president, Donald Trump. Everything this man touches dies, but somehow his family manages to make a $5 billion fortune while Americans cannot afford groceries. It would be enough to say it's just incompetence, but it's far more sinister because this is part and parcel of Project 2025, the Bond supervillain plot that Donald Trump said, I have no idea what that is. I'm just an unfrozen caveman lawyer. But because it's Donald Trump, he just came out outright today and admitted that it's part of Project 2025. Folks, we're going to unpack all of it. As you can see, I ain't Mary Trump. I'm Brown Mary from Earth 37. Don't you worry, Mary will be back. She just needed a day off. But as you all know, Brown Mary is here. And folks, we do it like Tina Turner. We don't do it nice and easy. We do it nice and rough. So the big wheel keeps on turning. Brown Mary keeps on burning. And we're rolling. And we're rolling. We're rolling during a government shutdown. Let's get into it. Friends, it's a government shutdown. That means we got to be fast and furious. We can't be nice and polite and civilized and clean. We got to make do with what we can as a child of immigrants. And folks, I got like 8 kids over right now. So if you hear chaos coming from the left, have no fear. There are about 8 kids, 3 of my kids plus all their friends. And also, there are 3 cats now in the Ali household. Yes, there are 3. Since the last time I guest hosted, I just went yesterday to the shelter and picked up Chotu. Chotu is 4 months old. He's a tabby. He's a sweet guy. He's strutting around like he owns everything. Lulu and Bilu are a bit freaked out, but we're making it work, folks. We all make it work because right now, this country is in a government shutdown. The Trump regime is handling it the same way it handles everything else, by lying about it, by projecting, by straight up being completely reckless and incompetent and not taking responsibility for one of their many, many, many failures. Folks, it's only been 8 months. I know it seems like 8 years, but here we are. The last time there was a government shutdown, 2019. You all know who was president then? Donald Trump, of course. What would happen to a man who squandered $400 million of his daddy's money? What else would happen during the presidency of a man who had multiple bankruptcies, who bankrupted not just 1, but 2 casinos? What else could we expect from a man who went to UPenn Wharton Business School and still does not understand how tariffs work? Is it a shock? Is it a surprise? It is not. But sadly, it is part and parcel of a larger GOP plan. We're going to get into it. But Democrats, of course, are objecting, as they should, to a Republican funding plan because it fails to prevent ACA premium subsidies from expiring. Without those subsidies, folks, premium costs would skyrocket for many Americans. Now, of course, Mike Johnson doesn't want you all to know that. Even though Republicans control the House, even though Republicans control the Senate, even though Donald Trump has the White House, even though Republicans control the press, somehow, Mike Johnson says, what can I do? Oh my God, I'm such a victim. Listen to his explanation.
I quite literally have nothing to negotiate. There's nothing I can pull out of the bill that was a Republican priority to say, oh, we won't do that. Why don't you guys vote for it now? I don't have anything. I didn't put anything in it to send it over. I'm stunned that they have decided to shut the government down and hurt people. It is on them 100%.
Really, again, Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, Republicans control the Supreme Court, Republicans control the White House, Republicans control the media. I would say Republicans are bullying corporations and even corporate media. Democrats are like, you got the votes. You voted for this. We want to protect these ACA premium subsidies from expiring. Because again, folks, without these subsidies, the premium costs for so many Americans will skyrocket. This is part and parcel of a deliberate plan by the GOP to dismantle Obamacare. This is in addition to the $3 trillion tax cuts they gave to the rich. You know, those permanent tax cuts to the 1%, which also will make our lives more expensive. But guess what? In addition to the $3 trillion debt, you know what they did? You know how they got that money? $1 trillion cut to Medicaid. It is essentially going to dismantle Medicaid. What's going to happen? Oh, rural hospitals are going to shut down. Oh, rural nursing homes are going to shut down. People are going to die, but they don't care because they want their tax cuts for the rich. The rich want more, baby. Best health care for them and their families, nothing for you. Work harder, you Americans. Stop being so lazy. And if God loved you as much as he loved us in the broligarchy, well, God would have given you health care. But folks, guess what? Even despite the Republicans dominating media and the Supreme Court and the House and the Senate, the American public is blaming them. Check it out.
Who is to blame for the shutdown, according to American voters? Here is a Washington Post text poll. 47% say Trump and the Republicans in Congress. 30% say Democrats in Congress. 23% not sure. This is 1,010 adults reached by text on October 1st. And then the other part of this, which is what this whole shutdown is about, these federal subsidies for health care. Here's what people say about that. 71% of the country wants to extend health care subsidies. 29% wants it ended as scheduled. It would end in January, and in some cases, premiums would triple to unaffordable highs for many, 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 many Americans. Vaughn?
Premiums will triple. Premiums will triple to unexpected highs, which is why 71% of Americans are like, yeah, protect those subsidies. Now, as an American, or if you're watching from abroad, you might be asking yourself, those 29%, what the F is wrong with them? Folks, let me tell you something. I've been following this for about 10 years now. I made the prediction 8 years ago that we have lost about 30% of Americans for our lifetime. They're not evil. They don't have horns on their head. They're our neighbors. But look at the numbers. It's consistently been about 30% of America, right? Like 30% of America. Donald Trump says, jump off a cliff. Yes. 30% of America, don't take a vaccine to save your life during a once-in-a-life pandemic. Yes. 30% of America, which literally depends on these subsidies to survive. Hey, do you want to cut these subsidies to give tax cuts to the rich and you'll die? Yes. So we cannot win those 30%. I'm convinced of it. But 70%, folks, 71% of Americans are behind this. The sad part is because Democrats do not have the messaging machine and discipline of the Republican Party, you still got 24% of people are like, I don't know who to blame for this. Who should I blame? Democrats or Republicans? Who's in charge? Republicans. I still don't know how to blame. Who to blame? But thankfully, I don't know if you all saw yesterday, we don't have the clip, but you had Bernie and AOC in a very casual, non-condescending way, just released a clip, 90 seconds, explained what was happening and what the Republicans were doing with healthcare. Folks, that was more effective than the actual leaders of the party, Schumer and Jeffries, who are going to write a strongly worded letter. They think that Donald Trump's finally paying attention to them. He doesn't respect them. You know how I know he doesn't respect them? He laughs at them, creates these messages and memes of them in sombreros, completely humiliates them, right? Maybe, just maybe, Democrats need to win over those 24%. Those numbers are good, but all I'm saying is those numbers should be up, not just 40%. 60 to 70% of Americans need to know who the F is in charge right now, who has the House, who has the Senate, and who is deliberately willing to shut down the government, harm Americans, and for what? For cruelty to skyrocket premiums. So the job isn't done yet, but some piece of good news that thankfully, at least a majority of Americans in this poll correctly blame the Republicans who have the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court and the White House for this cruelty. Now, the Associated Press reports that this government shutdown, the last time, again, folks, it was 2019, who was President Donald Trump, could harm our economy much more than past shutdowns. Here's a slide. Quote, some government agencies dodged the 2018-2019 shutdown because they received funding in advance and could just continue operating. However, that hasn't happened this time. Thank you, Doge, and you Doge incels. The CBO estimates that about 750,000 federal employees could be temporarily laid off, in addition to the hundreds of thousands of employees that have already been fired or furloughed. Trump is also considering something more destructive. His budget office has threatened the mass firing of federal workers this time, just instead of just doing temporary furloughs. Guess what, folks? They're threatening, if you haven't followed, you better keep this government open, Democrats, or we're gonna fire government employees. Hey, for the past 8 months, that's what you've been doing. You've already been firing them, right? That's what you've already been doing. Now you're just openly admitting it. This shutdown is hitting the economy that Donald Trump's failed leadership has already damaged in 8 months, folks. I want to give you a number that oftentimes isn't cited. When Joe Biden was president, the brand rating of America, right? Just see America as a brand. The brand rating of America was plus 15. You all know what the brand rating of America was last month? Negative 3.4. Not 0, not 1, not 2. This mother effer, Commander Cankles, Donald Trump in 8 months brought our brand rating to negative 3.4. Job creation. Remember, he's going to create jobs. Just trust me. I'm out of the deal. Jobs are going to come back. Job creation is an extreme low. The past 5 months, 3 of the past months, we have had job losses. That is an indicator this economy ain't doing well. God forbid, might go into recession. Also, revisions show the U.S. added almost 1 million fewer jobs than previously reported. 1 million fewer jobs. September's job report has been delayed indefinitely. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, yes, I keep the receipts. Remember when that last job report came out? And again, it was bad and showed the private sector actually not hiring and fewer job growth. What did Donald Trump do? He fired the BLS director, Bureau of Labor Statistics director, Dr. McAnterfer. Why? Because he blamed her for the terrible job losses, not him and his horrific trade war and tariffs and just failed economic policies. And then he replaced her with this completely unqualified man who was a January 6th insurrectionist, who, by the way, as a Zoom background, can't make this shit up, had Hitler's favorite naval ship. Because, of course, which one of us doesn't have, as their Zoom background, Hitler's favorite naval ship? Well, earlier this week, I think he was so incompetent that they quietly removed him. But instead of telling you the truth, they just punt and project, is exactly what's happening right now, blaming the Democrats for their mess, blaming the BLS for their mess, blaming the data for their mess. Meanwhile, remember Liberation Day? Oh, how far away was Liberation Day? Do you feel liberated with Donald Trump's stupid, reckless, self-destructive trade wars, his tariff policies that have turned all of our allies against us, have sent China, instead of buying soy from soy farmers, now they're buying soy from Argentina, which means that you and I will have to, of course, bail out these soy farmers yet again because there's Trump's base. Well, these absurd tariffs have created additional uncertainty, pissed off our allies, made China and Europe stronger, and high interest rates are now slowing down hiring. In addition to, everything frigging costing more. Anyone here a parent like me? Anyone? Raise your hand. Friggin' groceries cost more. Gas is getting expensive. Furniture is going to get more expensive. Meat costs more. Donald Trump, just vote for me. Everything will go down. Price will go down. Trust me, inflation will go down. Nope. Inflation has wiped out all the economic gains. The top 10% is the one that's spending, which is why the numbers don't look as drastic as they are. Meanwhile, the rest of us are friggin' hemorrhaging. The top 1% in America now makes more than the entirety of the middle class. Economists estimate that each week of this shutdown could cut 0.1 to 0.2 percentage points off of annual growth this quarter. But today, there's some silver linings. It's dark humor, folks. Today, Donald Trump, because he can't shut the F up, because he is inadvertently the world's most helpful supervillain who just blurts out his supervillain plot because there's no filter. He added a post to his failing social media, Trump social site, that gives us a good idea of who's actually calling the shots of this shutdown. It ain't Stephen Miller, the other shadow president. If you all remember, I always say there's two shadow presidents. There's Stephen Miller, Budget Goebbels, Pee Wee German, the white nationalist freak. And there's also the head of OMB, Russell Vought. Donald said today, quote, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, all caps, to determine which one of the many Democratic agencies, most of which are political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be permanent or temporary. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They're not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. Project 2025. You all remember Project 2025, the blueprint, the far right supervillain bond plot to dismantle our government agencies and implement the broligarchy's wet dreams, gut Social Security and Medicaid, purge the government and replace them with loyalists. Remember that Project 2025 that Donald Trump said, Project 2025, I don't know about it. What's that? I don't know. Remember how he lied about it? I love it. He just comes right out, posts it, admits it, embraces it. He treats it like grabbing a woman by the pee, just grabs that Project 2025. Folks, sorry about that. Had to go there. This man is a sexual abuser of women. He was held liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. He was held liable for defamation. He's a man who partied and chased girls with Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile. He's a man who had a modeling agency. He's a man who has credible allegations of sexual assault against him. He's a vulgarian. And I just want to remind people that Jeffrey Epstein said that he was Donald Trump's closest friends. Oh, yeah, release the Epstein files. But I digress. Let's talk about Russell Vought. Oh, you know, the super white Christian nationalist who is the co-author of Project 2025. He co-wrote the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 that, again, is the far-right policy blueprint for oppressing people and dismantling the government and making rich people richer during Donald Trump's second term. Russell Vought has long, openly, like a very helpful supervillain, said his plan out loud. He wants to cut the size and scope of the federal government. He's framed this government shutdown as a, quote, critical juncture for shrinking it. In other words, Donald's, if you will, shadow president, Russell Vought, and the rest of the Trump regime don't want a deal. They like breaking our government. It is going exactly according to plan. This is what they've always wanted. This is what they were doing even before the shutdown. And I would say this is why Chuck Schumer made such a disastrous decision to keep it open in the first place. He was complicit. And what do? They dismantle the Department of Education. They gut the Veteran Affairs. They gut USAID. So many people have died as a result of USAID being gutted, especially children all around the world. Doge has come in to have access to all of our private information. Doge is still operating, by the way. The people who pissed off Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, they're being replaced. Lackeys have come in. Folks, the rich are getting richer. And to quote Daniel Day-Lewis from Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood, they'll drink all of our milkshake. They take the straw and they put it in our milkshake and they're drinking our milkshake. That's what's happening in real time. And now Donald Trump has fully embraced Project 2025, the Bond supervillain plot that he said he had nothing to do with. Now, if Republicans weren't reeks, if Republicans weren't spineless amoebas, if Republicans actually cared about their own rural communities and constituents, they'd be speak out against this administration. They would realize this shutdown is terrible. They would realize these ACA premiums skyrocketing will bankrupt and kill their own base. They would realize this big, beautiful bill that they passed that gives permanent tax cuts to the rich, that comes at the expense of Medicaid. You know what's going to happen? About 20% of rural nursing homes will shut down. Rural hospitals will shut down. What does that mean, folks? They're literally, and I'm using the word literally as it's meant to be used, are going to kill their base. But they don't care because they're spineless amoebas and reeks. They're remoras sucking at the orange, lactating teat of Donald Trump and the broligarchy. And because I thought it and said it, now you have to think it as well, because damn it, we all have to suffer with that mental image together. In a profile on Vought, Axios said, quote, before joining the first Trump administration, Vought was the vice president of Heritage Action for America, a sister organization to the Heritage Foundation, where, surprise, surprise, he advocated for deep cuts to Medicaid, the Education Department, and USAID, all of which the Trump administration in 8 months began either completely gutting or dismantling. Last month, Vought said he didn't believe the Government Accountability Office, Congress's watchdog, should exist. Why, oh why, would you be against an accountability office? Oh, maybe if you were straight up the Hamburglar who wanted to go to McDonald's and steal all the hamburgers in plain sight, you, of course, will not want the watchman to be looking at you and your criminal deeds. And I want to remind people, because I keep the receipts, that the borders are Tom Homan, who is concrete in human form, straight up refused to deny last week when he was asked point blank by Fox News, hey, did you take that kava bag that was filled with $50,000? Oh, a straight up FBI sting operation that has you recorded literally accepting a $50,000 bribe in a kava bag. And he didn't say, I didn't take it. You know what he said? I did nothing criminal. I did nothing wrong. That was uncovered in September. That dude is still our borders are. People have forgotten that literal open, naked corruption that's happening in real time. And if you're part of the Trump administration, think about it. You could say like, hey, man, I can straight up be caught up in an FBI sting operation where they have me on video accepting a kava bag filled with $50,000 in bills. And I could straight up be caught accepting a bribe. And hey, I could just say, well, it's good to be the king. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I didn't do anything criminal. You think I did something criminal? Do something about it. And what did the Department of Justice, or rather I should say Trump's Department of Justice, do? Guess what, folks? They killed the investigation. And as the economy is going down, as our allies are turning away from us, as we have lost billions of dollars from tourism, as grocery prices are increasing, as the 10% is the one spending and the rest of us are hurting, as the 1% now officially has more money in this country than the middle class, guess who has made $5 billion just magically in the past 8 months? Well, that would be Donald Trump and his Tweedledee and Tweedledum sons. The Trump family, based off of crypto and his meme coin, has somehow made $5 billion of money. And guess what, folks? Guess who has a conflict of interest? The Trump administration. But that hasn't stopped them from passing the first pro-crypto legislation, the Genius Act. So check out the grift. They're literally making money off of crypto, deregulating it. And guess who literally sold access to himself? I bring all the receipts. Remember that? Whoever buys the most Trump Bitcoin, they're going to get access private dinner. Whoever buys it, you're going to get private dinner. And whoever buys the most, I'll give you a private tour. Remember that? That happened in this administration. And think about it. If you're a spy, or if you're a person who wants to get on Trump's ear, or if you're a foreign country and you know he just repeats the last thing that he said and you want to influence him, just buy that Bitcoin, baby, and you too can be in Trump's ear like Vladimir Putin and the broligarchy. As that's happening, as the government is shut down, as 750,000 government employees are terrified of whether or not they're going to be on temporary furlough or laid off, as these important agencies cease functioning, that run America, because last time I checked the government, we pay taxes and we depend on them to, do stuff for us. Guess what's operating in full capacity, getting paid, cracking skulls? Guess who's having a great old time, the gay old time? ICE, baby. ICE is still operating. The government is shut down, but ICE agents, these masked armed ICE agents, are cracking black and brown skulls. Oh, everywhere from LA to Florida, in Chicago. Oh, and they're in the nation's capital, and they're in Portland. Masked armed ICE agents who are Donald Trump's Gestapo, who now can racially profile, according to the Supreme Court, are still working, folks. They're still working because you know what's important? Not the government running, not the economy functioning. Oh, not federal employees feeling like they actually are worthwhile and doing important work. Oh, no, that's not important. What's important is Stephen Miller, Budget Goebbels' campaign to make America white again. And so the Gestapo is still getting paid and still cracking skulls. But the one thing they're trying to obstruct from view, and it ain't working because all of us have got cameras, is ICE raids. ICE raids have ramped up. The agency's activity has now gone from Chicago to Florida. There are terrible videos that are now going mainstream. However, it is important, folks. If this is happening and you're around, you have to film it. I know it's painful, but you have to film it. Take a look at this clip.
WestJew was there when a suspected immigration raid went down in Rockledge today. A number of construction workers were taken into custody, shocking the workers who were left behind. Take a look. This was the scene captured by our photojournalist at the corner of Dockyard Drive and Blue Water Lane in an area of new construction right near I-95. Brevard County deputies, in conjunction with U.S. Border Patrol agents, were processing men on the sidewalk before putting them into vans and driving away. All of our attempts to gather information were denied, but construction construction workers left behind describe a chaotic raid with a helicopter overhead.
Dozens of federal agents surrounded an apartment building in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood this morning. The area is bracing for a potential military deployment as immigration officials conduct raids. Federal agents at the apartment building were seen wearing military gear. A neighbor said people were screaming, there were loud bangs and pops, and he saw 2 people detained.
Folks, it's the world's worst I told you so. My co-host Danielle, a fellow nerd Avenger, we're on our world's worst I told you so tour the past 2 weeks. It gives us no joy to be right about this. We said and we warned. First, they're coming after the transgender communities. Look at what they're doing to pro-Palestinian activists and students. Be careful, it ain't going to end just with them. It ain't going to end with Mahmoud Khalil being unlawfully detained. It ain't going to end with Rameza Ostrich, a Turkish grad student, literally in broad daylight, having masked armed ICE agents just friggin' kidnap her and send her to Louisiana, where she stayed for a couple of months simply for co-writing an op-ed. It ain't going to stop against Kilmar Abrego Garcia and over 200 innocent brown men without due process, literally being kidnapped, detained, and then deported to CCOT, a foreign prison where they were supposed to be tortured and were supposed to die and be forgotten. By the way, we paid Bukele, the president of El Salvador, $6 million for that, right? It wasn't going to stop. The border isn't just going to end at Florida or Arizona or Texas. Now the border's crossing you in Chicago, in Portland. Fascists come for everyone, folks. Fascists come for everyone. If you don't believe me, I want you to see this clip. It's a disturbing clip. I think we have it. It happened in LA recently. I think it was last week. ICE agents body slammed a 79-year-old white businessman to the ground. The man's now serving them with a civil suit. Here's NBC LA.
This video is just flat out hard to watch right there. Federal agents slamming a 79-year-old business owner to the ground right outside his Van Nuys car wash. He was knocked down earlier inside. We first showed you this video earlier this month. Now he's fighting back with a lawsuit. John Kadis-Klimek joining us live from Van Nuys. And John, we know that you got a chance to speak with this man right after that raid.
Yeah, and he told us back then that he was going to do something, that he felt that his civil rights were violated, and he wanted to go after the federal government over all of this. By the way, where we are right now at this Valley Car Wash, Van Nuys Boulevard, just north of Sherman Way, this is what it looked like just days after all of that happened, too, because people here were afraid to come to work. They didn't even open. That's also part of the complaint that they're filing for lost wages and such. I want to show you that surveillance video again, though, so you can see what's happening here. The man involved in this, that's the owner of the store, Rafi. Now, he's knocked down there the first time. Then he goes outside and he's tackled and just taken down by these agents who came looking for specifically people who were working there potentially with undocumented papers, meaning not having any papers at all.
That's a 79-year-old white man, a citizen. Now, in America, I've always said this: white lives matter more. White tears matter more. White rage matters more. White grievance matters more. White skulls matter more. When fellow Americans see middle-aged, older white men and white women, upper middle class citizens, when that happens to them, they think to themselves, holy shit, that could happen to me. You saw this last week. Jimmy Kimmel, they're like, oh my God, a wealthy celebrity white man who's one of the handful of late night show comedians, for the most benign comments. The most benign comment, which actually was a punchline and joke against Trump. He didn't say anything about Charlie Kirk or his murder. He can get canceled. What will happen to me? Folks, I say this on behalf of myself, not Mary Trump. It's time to abolish ICE. What more do you need to see? Look at the evidence of your eyes and ears. That was a 79-year-old man. That's a U.S. citizen. He did nothing. Going up against these jackbooted, masked, armed friggin' thugs, this Gestapo that just throws him to the ground. Look at Kat Abu Ghazaleh. I'm sure you've seen the video. She's running for office in Chicago. She's like 5'0". She's got the scrunchie. They threw her to the ground. Look at what they did to Senator Padilla. Remember that? When Senator Padilla tried to interrupt Kristi Noem's press conference, which, by the way, happens all the time, they tackled him to the ground. Look what they did to Mayor Baraka in New Jersey. He's the mayor of that town. Look what they did to him. They didn't care. They arrested him. Last week, they arrested other elected officials. They arrested Brad Lander a couple of months ago in the same place where Brad Lander was arrested last week. I'm sure you all saw the clip of this poor woman, this woman, I'm thinking in her 30s, just crying. Young woman, tiny, skinny young woman, no friggin' weapons, was just crying because worried about her husband. And she didn't touch the ICE agent, was just worried. He just grabs her in front of everyone, in front of the cameras, and tackles her. They're doing this with impunity. For a couple of days, he was removed from duty, and then quietly earlier this week, I bring the receipts, he was quickly reinstated. It's the Gestapo. These guys are showing up at elementary schools. These guys are straight up deporting citizen kids. You still don't know how many citizens have been deported because Tom Homan, concrete in human form, you remember, he openly said, yeah, we're not going to separate families anymore. We're just going to take all of them, even the citizen kids. That's what they are doing. We need everyone to step up, especially white folks, especially white men and white women, to step up on the front line and protect black and brown folks. All of us, it's all of us together. And the more and more these videos come out, I hope these videos aren't there because that means someone actually suffered. But the more and more people see it with their own eyes, you see the overreach, you see the disgust, and now you see Donald Trump negative on immigration and negative on ICE. And I'm saying, folks, this is just me. What more do you need to see? You don't need ICE. It was created after the 9/11 terror attacks. They don't do border patrol. Now they're straight up terrorizing Americans. You don't need them. And speaking about that big, beautiful bill, people forget, in addition to the $3 trillion tax cuts, in addition to adding the deficit, they gave $170 billion to ICE. So there's more detention centers, there's more prisons now, and now we're going to have 10,000 masked armed ICE agents, and they're lowering the bar for entry. And they're also lowering the bar to entry for the FBI. You don't need college education. So they're actively seeking people who want to break skulls. Just my take. Let me know your thoughts. And now, and it's all connected, by the way, and I'm going to connect it for you. There was a disturbing piece of news that just came out earlier today, and I'm glad we're talking about it in the Washington Post. And I want you all to pay attention. In new imaginary wars that only exist in Stephen Miller and Donald Trump's head, Donald Trump has decided that the United States now is engaged in a formal armed conflict with drug cartels. This is according to a confidential memo sent from the White House to Congress this week. It just came out in the Washington Post 2 hours ago. His team has labeled these cartels as terrorist organizations and suspected smugglers as unlawful combatants. The memo details the regime's thin legal rationale for why 3 strikes on boats in the Caribbean Sea last month should be seen as lawful rather than murder. Murder. Those 3 attacks killed 17 people. Legal experts suspect labeling these acts as armed conflicts is an attempt by Donald to cement his claim to extraordinary wartime powers. Now, I want to connect the dots. I've been trying my best to raise the alarm about what's been happening offshore against these Venezuelans. Donald Trump has been saber rattling. Venezuela now is telling civilians to get armed. Venezuela actually did a flyby with their planes. Venezuela assumes that Donald Trump and this administration is going to go to war with it. Olivia Troy, who was in the first Trump administration who resigned, shared with me on the left hook that Stephen Miller used to dream about bombing Mexico, right? He thinks that we're under invasion from the undocumented and the illegals, and he wants to punish Latin America. Stephen Miller, folks, according to the Wall Street Journal, unleashed ICE agents in LA in the summer, specifically at Home Depot, if you all recall, and 7-Eleven, because he wanted escalation. He wanted a confrontation. The LAPD, you know, that flaming lefty liberal hippie LAPD, did a post saying, thanking the people, the citizens and community members of LA for working with them. Stephen Miller has used the word invasion. He believes we are being invaded right now. He used those words in the summer, and that's what he used to justify the Alien Enemies Act, implementing the Alien Enemies Act, which has only been implemented 4 times before. Last time was during World War II, where during extraordinary wartime circumstances, if you all recall, the government shamefully interned Japanese Americans, American citizens of Japanese descent, using flimsy evidence, ruining lives. So he wanted to invoke the Alien Enemies Act in a rare rebuke, a very rare rebuke of the Trump administration. The Supreme Court said, no, we're not under invasion. You can't use the Alien Enemies Act, but they kind of don't care. In addition to that, Stephen Miller says, because we're being invaded, and I believe that we can also suspend habeas corpus. Habeas corpus allows anybody in the United States, doesn't matter if you're a citizen, resident, anybody, to challenge what they believe is their unlawful detention. So what's been happening since the summer? Unleashing masked armed ICE agents against cities. Started with LA. Stephen Miller using the word invasion. Stephen Miller using the word insurrection. Insurrection Act. What did Donald Trump say in October? What did he promise? I'm going to unleash the National Guard and the military against the enemy from within. Voila. Take him literally and seriously. The National Guard right here patrolling in DC, wasting their time, armed, freaking just looking depressed, picking up trash. Now we have ICE agents terrorizing innocent communities in LA. The Supreme Court gave him a thumb up for racial profiling. Now we have ICE raids in Chicago. Now we have it in Portland, white Portland. Yep, that's not safe anymore. Florida, and he's threatening to go across anywhere he wants, right? Then you have, folks, a big piece of news that I just talked to Clint Klippenstein about this, and I want to just spend a second, if you will, about this, which I think is big news. NSPM 7, National Security Presidential Memo 7. Let me repeat this: NSPM 7. Why is it 7? It's only been done 7 times, and Clint Klippenstein has it on his website. NSPM 7 labels common beliefs as indicators of terrorism. What are some of these indicators of terrorism? Anti-Christian rhetoric, anti-American rhetoric, anti-capitalism opinions, criticizing ICE as seen as indicators of left-wing terrorism. This is National Security Presidential Memo 7, NSPM 7. And last week, who did Donald Trump just label on his own unilaterally as a terrorist organization? Antifa. Who is Antifa? What is Antifa? Is it an organization? Nope. So specifically, if you've been watching the past 2 weeks, ever since Charlie Kirk's murder, what has the right wing said? Before there was a murder and a suspect, Donald Trump went in front of the world and blamed left-wing rhetoric for inciting violence. Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter, is not left-wing. He is mostly apolitical, gun nut, who was most likely radicalized by Charlie Kirk's homophobia, and he came from a Christian conservative family. That has not stopped the entirety of right-wing media, Donald Trump, even Erica Kirk, from blaming they and them. I'm like, they, them, me, Mary, transgender people, the left, Democrats. It was Tyler Robinson. Then you saw the shooter, Joshua Johns, 29 years old in Texas, shot at the ICE detainees who conveniently left anti-ICE bullets. What do they say? It's the left, they, them. You all remember that? Ken did fantastic work also last week. He got people who knew him. That guy, that 20-year-old white guy, was a gun nut, radicalized online, who was on 4chan. At most, he was probably a libertarian, but most likely he was an edgelord shitposter with mental health issues. They have gone all in the past 2 weeks. Use the evidence of your eyes and your ears to blame they, them, the left. And what Donald Trump got away with was unilaterally killing 17 Venezuelans without any evidence, folks. They still have not released any evidence proving or showing that these 17 Venezuelans that were killed were folks who were drug dealers. Their family members are saying that they were just fishermen. The New York Times reported in the first strike, those boats realized there were planes following them and they were turning around. And folks, instead of just stopping these boats, you could just stop them. It's not that hard. Shoot out the motorboat. I was talking to Heather Cox Richardson. She's a boater. She goes, even I could shoot out the engine. They didn't stop them. They blew them up. They blew them up. And I want everyone to know why I keep talking about this, because Donald Trump got away with potentially, allegedly, unilaterally, extrajudicially killing 17 people, saying that they were terrorists. And as of today, folks, as of just a couple hours ago, he now says we're at war, armed conflict, with drug cartels. What does Stephen Miller say? All these undocumented immigrants, these Venezuelans, what are they? Drug cartels, drug gangs, Tren de Aragua, right? As justification to unleash ICE and the Gestapo to crack down against the rest of us. Take this literally. Take this seriously, folks. They ain't just going against brown and black people, and especially what Ken talked about, which I think everyone should be talking about, NSPM 7, National Security Presidential Memo 7, that labels common beliefs as indicators of terrorism. Those beliefs are rhetoric or thoughts that are anti-Christian, anti-American, anti-capitalism, and anti-ICE. Take it literally and seriously. You all with me? All right. I gave you all a lot today. There's about 7,000 people watching. I filled in for Mary Trump. I try my best to connect the dots. Told you, we do it nice and rough like Tina Turner. We don't do it nice and easy like Credence, although I like both versions of Proud Mary. We have some merch for you, folks. I want you all to support Mary. Mary Trump started this channel with nothing. And I think now, how many folks do we have here? Dennis, we got like 500,000. This is Mary Trump merch. Buy the Mary Trump merch. It helps support the show. It helps support Mary, helps support the team, Lexi and Dennis, all the folks who do the good work. We're independent. We don't bend the knee to anyone. We criticize Republicans and Democrats. We criticize the Democrats because we want to rouse them to action. We want you to fight Schumer and Jeffries, for the love of God. And folks, before we always leave, we give you a moment of catharsis. We give you a moment of relief. And we have a fantastic emotional support moment today. This emotional support moment takes us to San Rafael, California, my home state of California, where nature got a little too personal. An unusually feisty squirrel turned a quiet neighborhood stroll into an acorn-sized nightmare, sending a few surprised residents to the hospital. Proof, folks, that even the smallest creatures, the nobodies, can make a huge commotion. Check it out.
San Rafael, California, just outside of San Francisco. A handful of people in one neighborhood bit, scratched, some even ending up in the emergency room. Attacked squirrels. Believe the signs of neighbors, warning neighbors, and the neighbors themselves. 5 and counting. Some ending up in the emergency room, like Joe, who got his ear gnawed on and doesn't want to be on camera.
So he come over here and he started gnawing again. I took my hat off to swat him off, and he jumped on my head.
Joe's wife, Marie, watched what she calls a fast and mean attack.
Joe gets his baseball cap and hits it, and so she turns around and just jumps on his head, scratched his ear, and then she jumped on his leg, and so he tried to get her off.
Look at these photos taken of the squirrel just before that chunk out of Joe's fence and Joe's ear. A bigger squirrel than the others around here, say a lot of neighbors.
So that's when we went to ER. They thought, oh yeah, it's a squirrel, they don't have rabies. So we thought, okay, that's it.
But that wasn't it. Look at this. The next day, the mean squirrel came back.
Grandma, watch this. Grandma, watch this.
Listen to Joe and Marie's grandchildren told to stay indoors.
Let him
That's
in.
the same one, I think.
Let's let him in. Let me see.
No, don't let him in. She was on the side of our kitchen eating the mop. And it was like very hungry and wanted to be fed, I think.
Hangry. Angry and hungry.
Angry and hungry, yeah.
So now the signs are up. Neighbors are warning neighbors to protect their people and their pets, and the Marin Humane Society posting signs too, even going door to door with warnings.
And we're also told don't walk with shorts, don't walk with anything but heavy dungarees. And as you can see, I'm out here wearing jeans, not shorts.
You're keeping the rules.
I'm keeping the rules, and I don't want to be bit.
Folks, I think it's fair to channel the energy of the hangry squirrel. I think in this story, the hangry squirrel is the hero. I think it's all up to us to be the hangry squirrel. As Heather Cox Richardson said to me earlier today, we have to become ungovernable. We have the majority. We have the numbers. We have to raise some hell. We have to be a bit ornery. We have to make life uncomfortable for the broligarchy, for the caucusocracy, for the Trump regime. You saw last week when we all get together and raise some hell, ABC is forced to bend the knee. Sinclair is forced to bend the knee. Nexstar is forced to bend the knee and bring back Jimmy Kimmel. We have the numbers. The color that trumps white, the only color that trumps white in this country is the color green. Economic boycotts work. Running for city councilor works. Informing your family and friends works. Coming out in the streets, overpass action works. Putting your bodies on the line with the No Kings rally works. Be the hangry squirrel. Do not be contempt. Do not be complacent. Do not bow down. Make them. Force them to do it. Say, F you, make me. F you, make me shut up. F you, make me stop writing. F you, make me stop tweeting. F you, make me stop thinking these dangerous incendiary thoughts. Make me. Join the people. Join the hangry squirrels. These acorns belong to us, right? They're taking all of our acorns. They're drinking up all of our milkshakes. They're taking up all of our acorns. Nope. There's enough acorns in this country for everyone. The problem is the rich, the 1%, have always hoarded it for themselves and their buddies. And it's time not for restoration, but reformation. I'm feeling that hangry squirrel energy. That hangry squirrel is my animal avatar for today, folks. Thank you all for watching. I want to give a shout out to these lovely people. Sandra, You gifted 50 memberships. You are awesome. Dorothy with the cat avatar, $5. Welcome, Brown Mary, kids and cats. The kids are still here and the cats are still here. Susan, the hardest working moderator in the business, always shows up, always moderates, $10. 800 kids and 4 cats. I got 3 cats. 800 kids and 3 cats. Our latest cat, folks, is Chotu. I got him yesterday from the shelter. 3 kids, 3 cats. It was a surprise birthday present for my daughter. They are very happy. Marcy Ryan, $9.99. This poop sucks, but we love you. That could actually mean quite disturbing things if taken literally, but I know what you meant. Thank you, Marcy. Lizzie Beth, if DJT cuts off payments to Social Security recipients and veterans, how badly will banks be impacted when we all go bankrupt? Fascists come for everyone. White supremacy is self-destructive. Lizzie, as you've found out, everyone's connected. Everyone thought, oh, I'll be okay. I'll be safe. My whiteness, my wealth, my privilege will protect me. Even people of color, my privilege, my education, my suburban communities will protect me. We're all in it together. First they came for, and then they came for, and then they came for. Sky Blue, Brown Mary, that's me. Maggie, welcome, new member. Trail Goat, welcome, new member. In the middle of nowhere, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Neely with $20. Good job. Info. Oh, and Epstein. My fingers hurt, so I'll leave it there. I want to remind you all that this anti-crime, tough on crime, pro-security administration has given a sweetheart deal to Ghislaine Maxwell. Nobody has explained why, oh why. Ghislaine Maxwell got transferred from Florida to a minimum security camp where she does yoga in Texas. Could it be because she has the goods on Donald Trump and so many other powerful men who are in the Epstein files? $20 from the middle of nowhere. I'm a blue dot in a sea of red. It's been a culture shock to say the least. I don't know how to talk to my new neighbors. I wonder what you think of the new book, Separation of Church and State by John Fugelsang. It's called Separation of Church and Hate. Fantastic book. I talked to him for an hour. It was a viral video for us. We talked for an hour. It's on YouTube and on Substack. Separation of Church and Hate is a fantastic best-selling book by John Fugelsang, using Jesus and the Bible to make a case for progressive policies and to use as ammunition against the right-wing Christian hypocrites who, by the way, grind a lot on Grindr, if you know what I'm saying. Star Trek or Star Wars, both. But because Mary is a huge Trekkie, I'll say Star Trek for today. She is a Star Trek nerd. Donna, $9. Donna, another $9. Donna's fantastic. Always gives money. Swear jar fee because I effing hate this. I can't believe we're here and our country is in ruins. It isn't in ruins yet. It's bad. And it's going to be bad, folks, but we have the numbers. It's going to be a long walk. We have to walk towards repair. It's a long walk. It's going to be tough. This guy's going to do, he's already done generational damage. In 8 months, we've already had generational damage. I can't BS you, but there's more of us, folks. And so we have to stay committed. We have to breathe. One sucker punch, one haymaker ain't going to do it. The fascist regime always slows down with death by 1,000 cuts. Death by 1,000 cuts. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. Purple E1, Wad, you're amazing. I'm glad you're on our side. And Susan, $50. Another $50. Thank you so much, Susan. Bringing the receipts, connect the dots. Subscribe to Watch on Left Hook. I did not pay her to say that. Thank you so much, Susan. The lefthook.substack.com. On my Substack right now, we have 1,500 people watching. On YouTube and Twitter, we have 7,000 people watching, a total of about 8,500. I think there might be more on Twitter. Folks who joined in late, I'm Brown Mary Wajatali, subbing in for Mary Trump. Don't you worry, she'll be back. We brought the receipts and gave the real reason why Donald Trump and his shadow president, Russell Vought, are ecstatic about the government shutdown. It's all about Project 2025. We also talked about the ICE raids. We also talked about the attacks on Venezuela fishermen, the 17 people who were killed extrajudicially, and how that ties directly to Stephen Miller and Donald Trump trying to unleash the military and National Guard against the enemy from within. That is, of course, American residents. All hands on deck, 10 toes down. We're in it together. Folks, this has been Mary Trump Live. She will be back tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Be kind. Be joyful, warriors. And please, oh, please don't be a fascist.